just the picture. We are now in control of the transmission. We will help you shift your thinking, clarify your vision, and shape your reality. For the next 3 days, you will experience a powerful awakening about who you are and how you are meant to live. Are you ready for a paradigm shift? This seminar will be unique, vastly different from others you've been to in the past. You see, it's not a motivational event. Although it will most certainly motivate you, this is about something far more important than motivation. This is about understanding. And understanding is the key to every great thing you could dream of. It's about understanding the paradigm. Your paradigm. Your paradigm is insidious. It's sneaky. When you talk about con artists, the paradigm would win a contest against con artists every single time.
You thought I was playing?
It will hold you where you are. It will trick you into thinking that you're lost in life. It is the greatest enemy you will ever have. We're going to show you how to win. Because here's the thing. This is war. The fight for your goals, your dreams, and your life. There's a very real enemy you're dealing with. One that's strategizing against you, holding you tightly bound to the comfort of your current results. This enemy is restless and scheming against you, attacking your emotions and coming after your mind, your body, your relationships, and your future. In fact, it's happening right this very second, right where you're sitting.
You thought I was playing?
When you leave this room on Sunday afternoon, you'll be equipped and ready to conquer your paradigms in pursuit of the life you really want. This weekend will be spent updating your programming so that you can upgrade your life. You'll never again be shackled by circumstance, artificial boundaries, or a weak self-image. You will be given the tools and strategies necessary to create anything you want for your life. Tools and strategies that are targeted, precise, detailed, and specific. We invite you to fully engage in every minute of this study. Don't allow your paradigms one more moment of victory in your life.
You thought I was playing?
On stage this weekend will be world-renowned speakers, thinkers, and achievers, Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher, leading the way to the most important and vital work you will do in your life. This is Paradigm Shift.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gina Hayden.
Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the Paradigm Shift. Are you ready for something different? Something really different? Okay, we're going to start this program a little differently than we have in the past. It's not something that we've ever done. The next gentleman that I bring up, seriously, you really don't have any reason to believe what he's going to say. I mean, I don't think we'd bring somebody up who would lie to you, but think about the lies you tell yourself. This next gentleman, over the next 45 minutes, is going to show you that a lot of the things that you believe about yourself are illusions. And the illusions you think are impossible are really the truth. Every day we are bombarded by our paradigm, surfacing and fighting us against what we really want. Every day, you know it. Anders Hansen is a master illusionist. He has been all over the world for the past 2 decades. He's recently made a career change, and we are sure glad that he did. He has combined the best of illusion and the best of personal development. And over the next little while, he is going to show you that there is something so magical in you that you probably only now believe as illusion. But by the time he's finished, and by the time this seminar is over this weekend, if you would allow us the opportunity to fill your mind with all of the stuff that is really real about you, and get rid of the illusion that you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not whatever enough, you are going to make such a shift. Are you ready to make a shift? Are you really ready? Okay, I want you to stand up and give Anderson a really big round of applause. Let's welcome Anders.
Impossible. What does that word mean for you? I found that impossible is nothing but a label we assign to something based on our belief system. So what is it? Is it turning your annual income into your monthly income? Is it great health in your body? Inner peace of mind? What is impossible for you? That was a question. We're having a dialogue. Good morning, paradigm shifters. Good morning. What's impossible? Nothing. I like that, Peggy. Nothing is impossible. She's absolutely right. Impossible is nothing but an illusion. However, it is a very, very, very convincing one. That was an illusion, and it was also impossible. Thank you. So what is an illusion? Well, an illusion is something that is wrongly perceived or wrongly interpreted by your senses. I believe much of what we call reality, and certainly what we deem impossible, are nothing but that. Illusions, false beliefs, false concepts we've inherited. And unfortunately, those beliefs prevent us from achieving what we really want. Right? Instead, we're so programmed to go for what we know, what's reasonable, what's predictable, because what we really want for ourselves, our family, and our team is impossible. Unless you create a paradigm shift. Now, I know a thing or two about illusions and how to deceive people's senses, because I've done it for a living for close to 20 years, producing and performing magic on television and cruise ships, and what I have come to learn is that my work was not needed at all. People are already great at deceiving themselves. In fact, that is why it is much harder to perform magic for children than adults, because they don't have as many assumptions as we do. No, truly, people are great at deceiving themselves. In fact, I will venture as far as to say that you are letting your senses deceive you right this very moment. What? What do you mean, Anders? Well, you may think you see the world with your eyes, but you actually do not. You see through your eyes. You see with cells of recognition in your brain. Those cells are programmed based on your conditioning, your beliefs, and assumptions about the world. So in a very simple way, I guess you can say that you don't actually see the world as it is. You see the world as you're programmed to see it. Cheers. Thank you. Which is why you had a reaction this very moment. Because what happened was in stark contrast with your assumptions about how a glass behaves in mid-air when you let go of it. Same thing over here. I wrote the word impossible on a flip chart with a Sharpie pen. Your assumptions would be that those letters would stick to the paper, right? They've done that for years now. Every time you've taken a Sharpie pen, written on a piece of paper, the letters always stayed on the paper. Until they didn't. Until they fell off and onto the floor. That dramatically contradicted what you assumed to be true about those two objects, and that's when the illusion was created. Not here in the letters falling, not here in the glass floating. No, the illusion was created in the only place an illusion can exist. In your mind. An illusion can only exist in the presence of assumptions. No assumptions, no illusion. Can you imagine how many other false assumptions you make on a daily basis about yourself, your potential, and the world you live in? My goodness to me. A lot, right? Anders, how do you create an illusion? That was my best impression of Mr. Bob. At least his voice. He asked me that question when we first met, and I shared with him that for me to create an illusion, first I have to build an image in my mind of something that I currently perceive to be impossible. It has to look impossible. If it doesn't, no one is going to pay attention to it, right? Has to look impossible. And then I work backwards from that image until the goal has been achieved. That worked great for me for 20 years in my career, but the irony is, it never dawned on me to use the same philosophy in all areas of my life. So the illusionist that was deceiving himself, ding, 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 yes, guilty, that was me. By now, you probably have started asking yourself a series of questions about the guy talking, his weird accent, and is he or is he not? I just can't tell. Let's get it. I knew. So let's get it straightened out right from the beginning. I am. I mean, I'm not from here. I live in Las Vegas, but I ended up moving here all the way from the exotic city of Miami. Yeah. It is true, I moved from Miami, but my accent is from Denmark, which was voted the happiest nation on the planet a month after I left. Can you believe that? Now they're happy. They're so thrilled. They've gotten rid of me. 10 years ago, as I was living there, I was broke, I was sick, I was unhappy, I was confused about my identity, I was everything I didn't want to be. So much so that I decided to build a new model of my life. In a moment of desperation, really, I sold everything I had. What I couldn't sell, I gave away. I jumped on a plane and I left for Miami. In the move, I lost my friends, I lost my business, or what was left of it, and I lost my dad. But I was sitting there in Miami, looking at 2 suitcases, which is all I had left. I didn't think I could fall any further. I was performing magic for tips in local restaurants. At that moment, I had a voice inside of me, going, now you have everything. What? Now there's nothing left. I realized quickly, though, the voice was right. What I had lost were all the false associations to people, conditions, and circumstances that I thought made me to me. As that was lost, I was forced to look in a direction I had never looked in before, and that was inward. I got my first book on personal growth, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, by Joseph Murphy. I know many of you know it. And I learned I'm not my thoughts. Wow! I'm not my thoughts. I have a say in all of this. I went from performing magic for tips in restaurants to producing and performing multi-million-dollar production shows on cruise ships within the span of 1 year. I knew it wasn't luck. I knew it wasn't the universe favoring me over someone else. I knew it had something to do with my new way of thinking. And I became obsessed by finding out more. I studied quantum physics, personal development, spirituality, trying to understand that connection. And 3 years ago, I had grown dissatisfied in my career. It wasn't enough for me anymore just to have people go, how did you do the trick? Because at the end of the day, I really didn't care if they figured it out or not. All I cared about was, what did they take away from the experience? That's when I knew I wanted to take everything I had learned from being on stage, merge it with personal development, and create what I do now. Personal transformation meets magic. And I decided 3 years ago, if I'm going to learn from someone, I want to learn from the best in the world in personal development. Used all the tools I had learned, and 3 days later is when I ran into Mr. Bob at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. Needless to say, that's when my paradigm shift began. We sat down and had lunch 2 days later. There's so many paradigms, there's so many illusions standing between us and the goals we truly desire. But there's one that is really dear to me. And I say dear because I've come to love it, but it was something that really held me back for years. And that is something I'm going to share with you through an illusion. If you right now believe all you need is more knowledge to get better results, please put your hand up. Be honest. All right, not a whole lot. You guys are in the loop. Thank you very much. That is the illusion, though, many of us fall into, thinking that we just need to know more to get better results. And that's a trap. It wasn't until I heard Mr. Bob say that I don't get the results I want because I'm not programmed to produce those results. And if I want the results, I have to change my programming. It was like the biggest light bulb that went off in my mind. I mean, it was like, Edison crawling in there himself and flicking the switch on for me. I, the illusionist, was living with the illusion of knowledge. I knew I had to sell more to get better results in my business. Intellectually, I knew that. But my habitual behavior kept me stuck. If you can recognize knowing what to do and yet you don't execute on it, please raise your hand. That's a better ratio. Thank you very much. Are you ready to uncover the illusion of knowledge with me? Yes. Let's do this. All right. Tommy, could we get that nice music track you found? It's like subtle, underlying. Yeah, isn't it good? All right. This is my favorite illusion. I literally just built it for Real Magic Live. It's brand new, done it a few times. This is what we know. Over here is what we do. All right. I know if I'm among the 50% of the adult American population that are overweight, I know intellectually I probably should release some of it, right? We know that. Release. Wait. I know that. And yet, what do? The dessert menu comes around. We're out for dinner. And today turned into a cheat day. Like the other 6 days out of the week. What should we do? Not eat. Well, you have to eat, but maybe the right things, right? What's an easy way to say that? Choose. I like that. Let's pick that. Choose. We definitely gotta choose. Great, that's a good one. What's another one? This was a big one for me. I knew intellectually I should sell more, and I'm pretty certain many of you can relate. You want revenue growth in your business, you know you need to sell more, and yet we don't act on it. I remember I was on the phone with Mr. Bob a while back as I was creating my first live event, and we're talking about sales. And he goes, Anders, your ability to sell this is the same as if I went on stage and tried to make a car appear right now. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm not good enough yet. I hadn't built the skill. I knew what I should do, but I hadn't built the skill. So what should we do? We know we need to sell more. What should we do? Take action. I like that, sir. Thank you very much. Take action. Great, we'll do one last one. We know that when we're gonna work towards our big, impossible C goals, we gotta get better use out of our time, right? We know that. We know we need to be more effective on a daily basis. We know that. We know we need to be more effective. And yet, what do? Yeah, the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. Beep, beep, beep. Snooze, right? 10 more minutes. Beep, beep, beep. 10 more minutes. On Monday, I'll join the 5 a.m. club. On Monday. What should we do? get up. Yeah, definitely. Get up. Great. So let's say that all of this became your new autopilot programming. Let's say that you automatically only chose food that served your health and your body. Do you think that would have an impact over time? You didn't have to think about it, no internal conflict anymore, just something you executed on without any conscious thought. Would you think that would have an impact? I think it would. Let's say that every time you came in contact with someone new, someone you believed could benefit from your product and services, let's say it was automatic for you to engage them in a conversation around that. Do you think that would have an impact to the bottom line? I think so. I've literally installed a program that says I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm highly effective at helping people get what they want. I earn X amount of dollars a month or more sharing my gifts and talents with the world. So it's not uncommon for me anymore to fly somewhere, and by the time I land, there's a new participant in my 10-week program sitting next to me on the plane because I just can't help it. It's something I execute on automatically. Let's say that we wake up at 4:55 automatically. Let's say our subconscious mind just wakes us up before the alarm goes off. We are refreshed, ready to go. We spend an hour a day working on our big impossible C goal. 1 hour a day. 9 full 40-hour weeks in a year. Would that have an impact? Absolutely. So how do we bring those two pieces together? How do we turn what we know into what we do? Well, that is the magic. That is what we are here to learn with Mr. Bob over the next 3 days. But I'm going to give you a little preview. Right, there we go. It has to do with the magic of repetition. Now, there's a science to it, which is something Mr. Bob is going to cover extensively. There's definitely a science to it. So that what we know becomes what we do through the magic of repetition. When that happens, real quantum leaps are truly within reach. Are you ready to create real magic? The knowing has effectively become the doing. We've created a quantum leap and a permanent paradigm shift, and that is real magic. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Now, this is a little too big for my pocket, so do we have anybody that wants a souvenir? Yes. All right, just help me out here real quick. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you. Mr. Bob is the best in the world at what he does. In my opinion, no one comes close. He spent his entire life devoted to helping millions of people, including us, see through those invisible barriers, those illusions in our lives, so that we can step out and create quantum leaps. As you spend the next 3 days in his company and in the company of Proctor Gallagher Institute, I'd like for you to just think about what Mark Twain once said. They didn't know it was impossible. That's why they did it. Are you ready to see through your illusions? Are you ready to create impossible goals in your lives? Are you ready for a paradigm shift? Let's go.
Bob Proctor has been in the personal development industry for a very, very long time.
One of the greatest teachers and speakers in the field of success and personal development in history.
He is the material.
A New York Times best-selling author, lecturer, and counselor, preaching the gospel of positive thinking and maximizing human potential.
World-renowned speaker and star of the hit movie The Secret.
More than just an inspiration, he's got this piece about him, the knowing that once you put your mind on it, once you see it, it's done.
He truly has a genuine want for people to improve their lives, period.
Truly, there are few who have done it better and made a greater impact than Bob has.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you, thank you. Good morning. How many of you were sitting there watching him? I was watching him in the green room. And I thought, well, what the hell's the trick? And then it dawned on me, they were two separate sheets. They weren't together. They were separated. There was space between. Then it dawned on me, oh yeah. You know, Peggy, what's the guy's name that wrote Al Henderson? He's a writer. He writes sales copy. And he wrote something one time that I thought was really good. I have worked many conventions where they have a magician or an illusionist. And every now and then, because I'm working at the same convention they are, they'll ask me if I get involved in the trick. I say, okay. Well, I remember one time they had this one where they took this very pretty girl in a very skimpy bikini and they put her in a box. And then the guy come over with a wand and tapped the box, and I come out of the box. Now, do you know, everybody was blown away with it. It was so simple and so easy when you knew it. There was no magic to it. And that's the way magic is. If you understand the trick, it's not magic. Now, Al Henderson wrote this. But he said, when you understand life, that's real magic. And that's true. As you start to understand what Andrews was talking about here, that's real magic. I mean, you can make things happen that'll blow you away. You can. You can make them happen in your life that will shock you. Last night, I was working in Orlando, and we worked there until, I don't know, about 9:30. And then we went and we got on a plane, and Ryan and Gina and Brian and myself. It was a beautiful big 350, had a nice bench with blankets and pillows. And I went back and I laid down and I slept for about 3 hours on the way over here. And I was saying to Brian, I said, you know, the fact that we can do this, that's like magic. Here we are on a private plane, flying across the country, because it's the only way we could get the job done, but that we were doing it. Now, I can remember when I couldn't afford a taxi to go across town. And here I am, getting a plane to fly me across the country. You'll shock yourself with some of the things you can do. It's so simple and it's so obvious, and yet we don't see it. We miss it. And you know, we can go right through our life and miss it. There's all kinds of people. There was one fellow in the front row last night. And he almost had my attention wired. This guy was negative. He was right on the end, on the front row. And he was thinking, what a bunch of crap this is. You know, this guy, this is a bunch of junk. And I could feel it. Now, I remember when I first started, there was a woman from over in Boston. Beverly was her first name. And I asked her, she had been in this business for a while, and I said, Beverly, what do you do when you get a real negative person in the audience? And she smiled and she says, speak to the light, not the dark. I thought, wow, is that ever good advice? See, this guy was dark. And I was letting him, just for a couple of minutes, I was letting him get through to me. I was seeing his negativity. And as long as I was doing that, that's all I was sending out to the audience. That's all I could send, because that's all I had. And like that, I flipped over, and there was somebody else in the front row that was locked right in. They were leaning forward. In fact, I thought if they go any forward, they're going to fall on their face. And we do that when we're really interested. You'll see our body starts. If you're talking to somebody and they're really interested, their body will start moving towards you. And I'm thinking, it's too bad a guy, he would be, 45, 50. He's at this point in his life and he still doesn't even know. And he doesn't know he doesn't know. Well, as we go through this, you're going to see things and you're going to understand things that are pretty incredible. And it's all about you. It's not about me. I will hold your attention until Sunday night. You say, how in the hell do you do that? I just talk about you. When you leave here, you're going to say, he's a really nice guy. Oh, you will. Ed, you don't even know me. What you'll know, I'll just tell you the same things about myself, but I'll come at it from different angles. And you'll leave, you won't really know very much about me at all. You see, if I was talking to you about me for 3 days, you'd be long gone, probably before lunch. This is all about you. It's not about me at all. Now, we have tuned in to this part of our program, Facebook and YouTube. Someone come up with the idea, how could we reach more people with this? And we got a creative director, Tommy, that's really a pretty bright guy. And he said, why don't we let Facebook and YouTube come on free for the first couple hours? And then if they want to stay, they can pay just like all the other people that are streaming. Because this is going all over the world. We have thousands of people. It's probably in over 100 countries. It was 130 countries or 15 countries last time we were doing this. All over the world. Now, how'd that happen? Well, many years ago, I sat down in a little room in a house on Maplewood Lane in Glenview, Illinois. And I wrote on a piece of paper that I was going to build a company that operated all over the world. And today, we operate all over the world. Now, when I wrote that down, I had absolutely no idea how that was going to happen. None. No idea at all. In fact, I was the only one in the company. And I didn't even have a client. No, I was all by myself. Sitting there in a den with a pen. And that's what I wrote down. Because I was saying, what do I really want? Well, I want to fill a seminar. But is that really what you want? And I kept playing with it, so the idea kept expanding. And you know, it's a strange thing. Most people quit. And Hill tells a great story in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, about the guy that quit 3 feet from gold. That's where most people quit. He was mining gold. And he was doing fairly well. And all of a sudden, the vein run dry, and there was no gold. So he took all his equipment, left it in the mine, and he went to town, and he sold everything to a junk dealer for next to nothing. The junk dealer was a little brighter than this guy. He went and hired a real good geologist. I think that's who he hired. I don't know, something like that. And the guy came out that knew something about mining gold. Yet he said, you know, sometimes the vein, if you just move and go back, and he was only inches or feet away from the richest vein of gold in existence. The one guy walked away, the other guy picked up all the marbles. And that's the way it is sometimes. It's so easy to quit when things are tough. That's when you really want to pour the coals on. That's when you really want to do it. You see, I could tell you stories that would spoil your week. I really could. They're sad stories. And they happen to me. But I had this image in my mind, and I did not want to let it go. Now, you see, Napoleon Hill wrote this book. And I had a man, he gave it to me. He said, if you will do exactly what I tell you until you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. Because you can have anything you want. Well, I didn't believe that. Man, I was in bad shape. I was broke. I was earning $4,000 a year. I owed $6,000. I had 2 months high school. I had never had a good job. I mean, I had a brother and sister that were doing well, and I was the screw-up. I just wanted going down the wrong road. And I didn't want to seem to get off that road. But when he said that, he said, you can have anything you want. I didn't believe that. I really didn't believe it. But I believed he believed it. And he said, read this every day. And then he pointed out, he said, listen, the guy that wrote this was mentored by the wealthiest man in the world, Andrew Carnegie, in 1908. And he introduced him to 500 of the world's most accomplished individuals, like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford. And he studied these guys from 1908 to 1937. And he found they had a golden thread running through their life. Some of these people were very well educated formally, in formal education. Some of them had doctorates and master's degrees. But there was others that had never been inside a school. Some of them came from very good families, and some of them came from people that were on welfare. There was such a cross-section. But there was only a very small percentage of the population. And it has never changed very much. And he said, you see, if you follow what this guy's saying, you're getting the best advice from the best in the market. Now, I don't know why. My mother really never gave up on me. And I don't know how she didn't, but she didn't. She kept thinking every time I screw up, well, you keep going, you'll win. I remember in the Navy, I had divisional officers, captains of ships. They tried to help me. I had people I'd worked for. They probably saw something I couldn't see in me, and they tried to help me. I just rejected all this. I couldn't pay attention to any of it. Something was really twisted inside, I guess. But for some reason, this guy sold me. He said, if you do exactly what I tell you. And I don't know why, but I did. And my whole life started to change, and changed dramatically. I've earned millions of dollars. I have a company that operates all over the world. I have wonderful friends. If you meet anybody in this company, we have the most phenomenal group of people in our company. How did all that happen? It all happens because you change yourself. And when you change yourself, you change what you attract to you. And that's really what this is about. Now, some of you came here, and, you may have really never been here before. Some of you are watching this from YouTube, and you say, well, we'll listen to this guy for a few minutes. Now, just sit back and relax and really think about what I'm saying. Because this guy said to me, his name was Ray Stanford, he said, listen, my way's working, yours isn't. And I think that's what got me. The guy always had money. I never had any. I was always broke. He was happy. I wasn't very happy. He was a great big healthy guy. I wasn't the healthiest guy in town. I mean, he had everything. I seemed to have nothing. He said, my way's working, yours isn't. And something clicked. I thought, maybe the guy knows what the hell he's doing. Well, within a year, the changes were so dramatic, it was hard to buy into. Now, when we talk about paradigm shift, let's really think about what we're talking about here. This is a resourceful environment where people from around the world, we have people from many countries here. Yet on streaming, they're from all over the world. Maybe you could tell me from the back, how many countries are there streaming? Somebody knows. How many? 99. Okay, it'll grow. But it's a resourceful environment where people from around the world collaborate, they mastermind, yet they explore opportunities while developing financial independence by establishing multiple sources of income. I was telling this group last night that I have studied this now for a long, long time, over 50 years. In fact, I remember one time, Mikey, who is our chief operating officer, I was on the phone one time. We were doing a conference call or something. And I said, Mikey, I've been doing this since before you were born. She said, Bob, you were doing this before my mother was born. Well, I mentioned that last night because it always struck me as funny every time I think about it. And of course, she was right. But you can go way back to the ancient Babylonians, and you're going to find every one of the wealthy people had multiple sources of income. Now, if you only got one source of income, boy, it better be a big one. Because if you want to become financially independent and you only have one source of income, it gets tough. Now, last night while I was sleeping, I was earning money. I don't know how much I earned because I didn't check this morning, and I wouldn't even know how to check. But I do know that I had multiple sources of income. If I called Sandy, she could probably tell us right to the penny. But at any rate, this is the way it works. So what we're talking about here in this environment, it's a resourceful environment where people from all around the world, they come together, they mastermind, they explore opportunities. Now, that's what all our programs are about. And if you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, and you really tune in, as we keep going through the day, tomorrow and the next day, we're going to dig into stuff that's just mind-boggling, but we're not going to drop it all on you at once. It's sort of just open it. Stop and think of how you learned anything in school. Maybe you were having difficulty learning certain mathematical equations. I say that because I had great difficulty with that. And the teacher would come along and maybe give you some individual tutoring. And the teacher would say, look at it this way. And they would go through one of the problems. And they say, do you understand that? Yeah. Okay, now you do this one. And you're looking at it. You didn't understand it. Let me do it again. And they go through it again. And they may go through it 3 or 4 times. And you say, oh, now I see. Now I see. And it's an awareness. And you develop an awareness. And that's what's going to happen as we go through this today, tomorrow, and the next day. Yet, as this awareness comes on your mind, you may have a hard time containing yourself because you get pretty excited. You think, wow, this is so cool. Then you just can't wait to execute it. Now, the beautiful part is that you're working with other people that do the same thing. Now, what is a paradigm shift? Well, let's look at what a paradigm is. A paradigm is a mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is habitual. Now think about that for a moment. I want you to think of a loved one, maybe your spouse, your next door neighbor, your brother, somebody you work with, and you stop and think about them, you will find there's a pattern in their life. And the pattern doesn't deviate much one day to the next, 1 week to the next. I've often gone in and talking to vice president of sales in maybe a large organization or maybe a divisional VP or something like that. And I'll say, I want you to give me the name of 2 people that you're familiar with that's in sales in your company. Just give me their first name. Don't even give me their last name. So they give me a couple of names. Now I said, you can go into your memory, in your computer, and you can tell me where their sales are going to be 7 months from today. You know that. He looked at me and said, what do you mean? I said, you know where their sales are going to be. There's a pattern, and most people don't deviate from it. Now, some of the people are absolute stars. We've got one guy that leads the pack all the time, Arash. Arash is, without question, the best in our company so far. Now, there's some people right on his heels biting at him, wanting to get ahead of him. But I never wonder what he's doing. I know he's got habit patterns. We've all got habit patterns. And you can almost predict where people are going to go, what's going to happen, because of their paradigm. First thing I do, if we hire somebody new, first thing I want to know is, what's the most you've ever earned? I don't really care what the answer is, but I want to know what the answer is. Yet when they tell me what they've earned, then I know where their paradigm is. And I know if I want them to do a better job, I'm going to have to help them earn a hell of a lot more than they're earning. Yet if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to help them understand why they're doing what they're doing. It's a paradigm. There's a program inside their mind. And that program controls their behavior, which produces their results. So you're programmed to live the way you've been living. I remember one time going into an aunt and uncle's house. They're gone now. It was around Christmas time. And they were broke. And they had a whole house full of kids. This is many years ago. And they're running around trying to get credit cards from some of the bigger stores so that they could go in and get Christmas presents for the kids, because they didn't have any money. Yet I remember Don saying, never mind, next year will be different. And I was sitting there and I'm thinking, I wonder if I should tell them. I thought, what the hell? I said, you want to know something, Don? Next year's going to be exactly the same as it is this year, because it was exactly the same last year. If you don't change you, nothing's going to change. Every Christmas you're going to be broke. It is a big guy, and he was getting angry as hell. He was not happy. But you know something? It made him think. Now, he was working at a job, and he was working hard. Way on the other side of the city, he had to take public transportation to get there. He didn't have a car. They couldn't afford a car. He worked overtime almost every night just trying to earn some extra money. And it was a dumb job. He worked hard. They got paid every 2 weeks. That meant 3 times a year, they'd get 3 pays in a month. They had everything budgeted on 2 pays a month. They took one of the extra pays and they enrolled in a series of seminars that I was doing. I was doing an 8-week seminar in downtown Toronto at the Hyatt. Every Tuesday night for 3 hours for 8 weeks. And I made them pay to come. Because I knew if they didn't pay, they probably wouldn't pay attention. I think they thought I was mean or something because I charged them. I didn't care what they thought. I didn't care what they were thinking of me. I was more concerned what they were thinking about them. They weren't thinking good thoughts about themselves. Now, Mark told me afterwards, she said, you know, the first 3 nights we were there, I had no idea what you were talking about. You're talking about frequencies and vibration in the mind. Then she said, you got to a point where you said, what do you want? What do you really want? Not what do you think your husband wants you to want or your wife wants you to want. Not what do the kids want. What do you want? And she said, I hadn't thought of what I wanted for years. It was always him, the kids. And she said, I couldn't think of anything I wanted. But she said, when it started to come, I couldn't stop it. And she said, I just kept writing and kept writing. Now, they're both gone now, God bless them. But you know, when they were leaving us, they had a multi-million-dollar estate. They had a beautiful home, great business. They had a nice home in Florida that used to go to in the winter, in Toronto in the summer. They had employed people for a long time. Everybody in the company was doing well. In fact, the family's still running the company. They hadn't gone to school, but they started to think of what they wanted. That's what you've got to think about. You got to start thinking what you want. Now, when you first think about it, it'll probably seem like ridiculous, fantasy, you know. That's okay. That's okay. Think of this for a moment. Where did this thing come from? I can take your picture and I can hit send, whoop, just like that. It's on somebody else's phone on the other side of the world, simultaneous with me hitting send. It's on their phone. And they're on the other side of the world. You know why? There isn't any such thing as time or space. That's an illusion. Now, don't try and figure that out this weekend. You'll drive you crazy. But you do know that you can do that. Where did the idea of the phone come from? This phone. Where did the idea come from that we could do this? Because I'm going to tell you, when I was a little kid, when you were a little kid, this was really fantasy. But it's not anymore. Now think of this. All religion, all science teach nothing is created or destroyed. If nothing's created or destroyed, everything's already here. If not in one state, another. Now really think about what I'm saying. The way to build this phone's always been here. You know what it took? It took somebody to develop the awareness. It took someone to build the idea and say, I'm going to figure out how to do it. How did we get off the ground? How did we get in the air? Can you imagine what the neighbors of the Wright brothers were saying? They're bicycle mechanics, for God's sake. Here they are, they're going to fly. You can hear the neighbors. What are those boys doing? I'm telling you, they're going to kill themselves. Those kids are crazy. Why does their father stop them? But they introduced us to a new kingdom, didn't they? Look where awareness has gone since they got us off the ground. If you're watching this on Facebook or on YouTube, get a notepad out and take some notes. Now, you might have planned to do something else a little later on. Change your plans. Because this can change your life. And it can change your life like night and day. I remember about 17 years ago, a guy by the name of Ed Morrissey phoned me. And he said, Bob, I hadn't talked to him for a long time. He said, I'm with a guy that's reading your book, Born Rich, and he doesn't believe I know you. And I said, okay. Anyway, this guy's talking to him, and he said, he was reading this book, and he said, you got to get this book, you got to read it. And Ed said, well, I know him. He said, you don't know him? And the guy said, no, I know him, he's a friend of mine. Oh, he said, phone him. I said, okay. So he phoned me, and I answered the phone. He said, the guy wants to talk to you. And I said, okay. Put him on the phone. So I had the phone, and he introduced himself. His name's Phil. And he said, whereabouts are you? I said, I'm in Las Vegas right now. He said, I'm in Los Angeles. Could I come over and talk to you? And I said, yeah, if you want. He said, I'll be there as soon as I can get there. It's only an hour away. So the two of us sat down, and he was probably very much like you are. You may be sitting in your office. You might be in a car watching this on a watch. The very fact that you could do that is a bit mind-boggling, isn't it? Yet it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You could be in Copenhagen. You could be in Kiev. You could be in Buenos Aires. It doesn't matter where you are. You're here with me right now. Well, anyway, I said to this guy, what do you want? He said, I want to earn more money. I said, well, I can show you how to do that. I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a movie producer. I said, okay. Is he any good? He said, well, I'm pretty good. I said, what are you earning? He said, about $250,000. He lied. He was earning $200,000. He told me later that he lied. Almost everybody, they stretch it, you see. And I said, okay. And I said, is that all you want? No, he said, I want to win an Oscar. I said, I can show you how to do that. He said, I want to win an Emmy. I said, I can show you how to do that. Didn't matter what he said. I said, I can show you how to do that. Now you're watching, you're saying, how the hell are you going to show him how to do all those things? Everything happens by law. It happens just the same as an acorn turns into an oak tree. That's by law. It happens just the same as the night follows the day. That's the law. The tide goes out, it comes in. That's the law. When we understand the law of our being, that's when everything in our life starts to change. Now, that was about 17 years ago. He is probably the busiest producer in Los Angeles. I think he did something maybe like 15 movies last year. He earns millions of dollars. He's got an Oscar. In fact, he was nominated for an Oscar, and they were, just, I don't know, a few years ago, and we were in a seminar when they had nominated, and they hadn't said who was going to win, so I had him stand up and give his acceptance speech for the Oscar to the whole seminar. And a couple of weeks later, he won the Oscar. And he got his Emmy, and he got his millions. And I got a text from him here a couple of weeks ago, and he's opening Tootsie on Broadway. It's running off Broadway right now, I think, in Chicago. And he's invited me to go with him on April the 13th, opening night. How'd this all happen? Here's an ordinary guy. He's getting extraordinary results. You see, you could be sitting at home watching this. You can say, well, is this real? Yeah, it is real. The guy just walked in the room. That's what triggered it in my mind. Stand up, Phil. Stand up for me. Give this guy a hand. All right? Put the camera on him. Okay? Ed, I'm going to have Phil come up later on and tell you. Because this happened over, 17, 18 years. I remember here a couple of years ago, he phoned us, phoned Gina, my assistant, who's worked with me now for over 30 years. And he said, could I come over and have dinner with you and Bob? And she said, well, let me check. And I said, sure, son, come on over. So we're in the Bellagio, and they give us the best table in the dining room that night. At any rate, he sat down, and he had a stack of gold cards about that thick. And he started to tell us the story of what's happened to him. It was over 16 years. That must have been about 18 years ago now. So he took each gold card while we're having dinner and went through the story on each one. It was truly fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And you see, when I first met him in Vegas, I said, just do exactly what I tell you. You can have anything you want. Now, I tell that to a lot of people. Not a lot of people do that. That's what my first mentor told me. Do exactly what I tell you. Now, I'm not going to tell you what time to eat, what time to go to bed, but there are certain things I will tell you. You got to do exactly like I tell you. If I tell you to study a book, study the book. Now, I'm telling you to do things that I know works. This isn't some philosophy that I studied in school and I'm sharing it with you. This is something that I went out and I did. I have worked with some of the most brilliant people in the world, and I did exactly what they told me, and I got exactly what they said I'd get. And it didn't matter where I was working. I went into the Prudential of America, the largest insurance company in the world. We raised their sales by hundreds of millions of dollars. One retired VP, Paul Hutsey from over in Kansas, he said he thinks that we raised it over $1 billion. That's one of the largest companies in the world. They were sending psychologists out of Jersey, their head office, trying to figure out what I was doing. I was just getting the people to go to work. They weren't going to work. Their paradigm had them as low producers. Your paradigm is controlling your production right now. Your paradigm is controlling everything you're doing. And when Phil saw this, I said, just exactly like I'm telling you. And you do this. He will read the book. Doesn't matter what book, I tell him to read it. Now, I've given him a couple I gave him pretty early that were pretty heavy books. Never mind, he studied them. I've seen this happen with a lot of people. Sandy Gallagher came to me one day, and she said, I want to be your partner. I said, yeah, a lot of people do. I don't have partners. I just operate by myself. I don't join anything. I don't belong to things. I just study, do what the book says. But you know something? She owns half the company today. Yeah, she became my partner. When she did, our whole company changed. Woman's a financial genie, really. She understands money better than anybody I know. She'd done $100 billion in business when I met her. $100 billion. I said, you mean $100 million? No, she's $100 billion. She was a securities attorney, a banking lawyer. She would buy and sell banks, merge banks, turn them public. I remember thinking, anybody that knows how to deal in those numbers, you should get close to them. Mm-hmm. 4 years ago, this past July, they were having a birthday party for me with a group of the staff in Phoenix. Not everybody, but some of the people from Phoenix. And she hadn't been working with us that long. But that's when she gave me a card, and from then on, I have flown private. My God, what a change. I think it's added years to my life. I fly when I want to go. They come and they take me, wherever I want to go. Costs a lot of money. I would have never been able to do that without her. She knows things I don't know. You're going to meet people that don't know stuff you don't know. You want to get close to them. Andrew Carnegie put it very well. He said to Napoleon Hill, the accumulation of great fortunes calls for power. Yet power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. But that person who accumulates the fortune doesn't have to have the knowledge. Now, I'm going to repeat that, because the guy that told me repeated it about 3 times. He said, the accumulation of great fortunes calls for power. Power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. That's the key. Intelligently directed specialized knowledge. That is the key. But he said the person who accumulates the fortune does not have to have the knowledge. There's people in this room that work in our company, that are part of our company. They know stuff I don't know. They could make me look like a dummy in the area they're proficient in. I don't have to know what they know. They know it. What we've got to know, if we're going to do anything of any consequence, we're not going to do it alone. You're going to have to work with other people. And you've got to work with people that are a heck of a lot smarter than you in some of the areas. This is something you're going to learn. So if you're sitting on Facebook watching this, understand this. We don't have time to do it before this thing, I don't know, shuts off, wherever it shuts off. You get a couple hours on this. We're going to show you how to set up multiple sources of income. We're going to tell you how this works. We're going to show you how you can multiply your income. You literally can turn your annual income into a monthly income. Here's a great quote. My goodness, it's so good. Steve Jobs, he said, for the past 33 years, I have looked in the mirror every morning and have asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm doing, what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no, for many days in a row, I know I need to change something. Well, I know one thing. I don't have to change anything. When I wake up, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. I sat down with Earl Nightingale, who was the Dean of Personal Motivation when I sat down with him way back in the 60s. And he said something to me. I was leaving him. I had an hour interview with him. And I flew to Chicago. And I said, well, what is the big deal? You know, he had retired at 35, a millionaire. He had a record out, The Strangest Secret, that was it's the only record outside of the entertainment industry that sold over 1 million copies. It's 40 minutes of the best philosophy. So if you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook, for goodness sake, order that record. You can get it on Amazon, I suppose. The Strangest Secret. The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. Well, I started listening to that. And my goodness, It was so good. And then I ended up meeting with him. And I'm sitting in his office. I'm ready to leave. And I said, "Oh, what is the big deal? What is really the deal? What is it all about?" He says, "There's no secret to it." He said, "It's simply a matter of sitting down, deciding what you love to do, and then make a commitment you're going to dedicate the rest of your life to it." Well, I started to get so jazzed at that moment because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do what he was doing. I not only want to do what he was, I want to do it with him. And I made up my mind I would. Now, I was a very busy guy. We had offices in different cities in Canada, the U.S., and England. I mean, I couldn't just walk away. But 3 years later, I was his vice president of sales. I had an office right beside his and Lloyd Conant. I not only got Earl, I got his business partner, Lloyd Conant, who was a brilliant man. And I picked their brain for 5 years. But the one thing, the big thing I learned, I made a commitment. I was going to do this until I die. For the rest of my life. You see, I don't wake up and see if I can make it work. I don't do it to see if it works. I'm doing this forever. And everyone that has done anything of any consequence, they loved what they were doing, and they had never explored any options. This is it. This is where I belong. This is where I will be for the rest of my life. Now, I've been doing this for 50-some years. I'm not telling you something that I discovered. I became aware of it. But anyone that's ever done anything of any consequence has discovered this. They got it from someone else. Now, there's other producers here in L.A. that will look at Phil and they will come up with all kinds of excuses why he's doing so much better than them. And they're probably a bunch of lies. They're kidding themselves. They've never sat down and asked the guy, "What do you really do?" Most people don't do that. They never go to someone who's demonstrated by results. They know exactly what to do. And then say, "Tell me what to do," and then follow it. Now, see, I think we're all interested in growth. We're interested in growing our income. We're interested in growing our business. I think we're interested in that. We're interested in growing our relationships. Well, if you're going to do that, you're going to have to change. You see, growth and change go together. And you can't have one without having the other. Now, change is not an easy thing to do. You know why? You're programmed. You have a paradigm. That program's deep in your psyche. It's in your subconscious mind. And as we go along, later today we'll get into it, we're going to show you how as an infant you were being programmed. But you were being programmed by someone that's been dead for maybe 500 years. Some of your belief systems are so archaic and ridiculous. If you just thought about them for a minute, you'd say, "Well, this is nuts. What the hell do I believe this for?" You inherited the belief. You didn't originate it. It's silly. It's so silly, but we believe it. See, I was earning over $1 million a year, and I was thinking, how the hell am I doing this? I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea what I was doing. I'd grown up with the idea if you're going to earn a lot of money, you got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't very smart, but I was earning a lot of money, so I thought that can't be true. I was raised to believe if you're going to have a good job, you got to have a good formal education. I was kicked out of school after 2 months in a technical high school. Get out of here. We don't want you. God, I was happier than they were. I didn't like them. I didn't want to go there. At any rate, that's what I had, 2 months high school. I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company. So I thought that's not true. Then I started to think, I wonder how many other things I believed aren't true. Well, you know most of your beliefs are not true. Some of you think you're different than the person beside you. You're no different than them. You look different, but you're not different. They may earn more or earn less, but you're not different. You may speak a different language. Your skin may be a different color. You may live in a different kind of a body, but you're not different. We'll say, well, what the hell are you getting at? Well, you've got to go to the root core of who you are. And they don't teach us that in school. They do not teach us that in school. You got to get into the mind. You got to take a look at what's going on. Now, if a kid that never did anything of any consequence can learn something about the mind, and I teach mental health to psychiatrists. There's one woman's head of psychiatry in Toronto. She's chair of psychiatry. She said she never met a psychiatrist that understood the mind as much as me. I always found that rather interesting. I thought, I don't know where the hell you learned what you learned then if I know so much more than you. I never thought I knew that much. But you see, I've gone into prisons, and I've had them give parole to a guy that they were ready to throw away the key. He was sentenced to 27 years. He was in solitary confinement for 7 years when I met him. I had the Canadian government tear up his parole, give him his passport, and I took him to England with me. He was the best guy I'd had. I could tell you a lot of stories about that because I used to go into a maximum security prison every month for 5 years. I didn't make a big deal out of it when I was doing it. I'd just go there and go to work. I didn't care. Anybody could come. I've seen kids in school. In fact, I met a couple last night at this convention around 15 years ago. The man came to me and said, I wonder if you'd mentor some of our kids. And I said, I don't want to mentor your kids, you know. But I didn't know how to say no to him, so I said, okay. So I took about 15 kids. I worked with them 1 hour a week, just 1 hour a week on the phone. And at the end of the about 15 weeks, they were on a stage in Kansas City in front of 10,000 people, and the audience was taking notes. Kids. They learned that much about themselves 1 hour a week over 15 weeks. We have no idea who we are. And then we say, well, they're not old enough. What's age got? Age has got nothing to do with it. How old would you be if you forgot your age? It's a bunch of nonsense. We got different yardsticks, and we control our life by them. It's so crazy. I have people say, how do you teach this to little kids? I said, the same as you teach it to your brother. They said, what do you mean? Well, I said, you're dealing with the mind. There's only one mind. So I don't care if they're 3 or 33 or 133. Age doesn't matter. Now, I said, with a little kid, the only thing you have to take into consideration is vocabulary and experience. They've got a limited vocabulary and limited experience. Keep that in mind, but teach them the same thing. If you can take a little kid and teach them 4 and 5 languages before they even go to kindergarten, what the hell, you could teach them most anything. But we don't know that. We think it would be difficult to learn another language. Little kids don't think so. So they do it. Now listen. You can, with very little difficulty, create your own economy. That's a nice thing to know. It doesn't matter what the government's doing. It doesn't matter what the index is. None of that matters. You can literally create your own economy. This is so basic and so misunderstood. The man that gave me this book, that's essentially what he told me. I thought he was nuts. I mean, I was so broke. I was forever trying to hit somebody up for a couple of dollars for gas. The idea of creating my own economy, I didn't understand that. Now let's think about goals for a second. Where do we set goals? Here's where you're going to go if you're the average individual. You're going to start thinking, what do I know how to do? I think I'll get a new car. That'd be a nice new car. And we may even upgrade it, a little bigger or better than the last car. Almost everybody in the room has got new cars from one time or another. You know how to get a car. That doesn't constitute a goal. Now, that doesn't mean you wouldn't get a car. But you already know how to do that. Then you'll go to something else. You'll say, well, B-type goal, I think I could do this. If she gives me the money she owes me, if he does what he says he's going to do, if they do this, and if this happens and that happens, then I could do this. So they got it all figured out in their mind. That isn't the way to do a goal. You see, you got to make up your mind. Whatever your heart desires is up here waiting for you. It's here. Nothing's created or destroyed. Now, that's just not something that I've dreamed up. That's something every religion teaches. I don't care what religion you are. You can be Hindu, Christian, Jew. It doesn't make any difference what religion. You may be no religion. Every scientist will tell you the same thing. Nothing's created or destroyed. You just change one energy into something else. We have the ability to do that. So, where does everything come from? Where does this hotel come from? Everything's already here. We tap into it. It starts off in our mind. Now, this may sound silly, but you stay with me. You keep studying with me over the next 3 days, just operating this. What if I'm right? You can do anything. There's a lady sitting here that came to a meeting I was doing at least 30 years ago. She was a junior clerk in a company, and the head of the company asked me to go and speak at their company. I didn't even want to go. I said no 2 or 3 times. Finally, he kept going after me. I said, okay, I'll do it. She was losing. She had a job, but she had a bad attitude, and she was losing. And I said something, I quoted Vernon Howard. He said one time, you cannot escape from a prison if you don't know you're in one. Now let that sink in your mind. You cannot escape from a prison if you don't know you're in one. And she said that just rattled her brain. Nobody in her company or her country, in her family had ever done anything of any consequence. She's a New York Times best-selling author. She has worked with people like Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williams, helped them take their books to the top of the list. She's had her books translated into something like 30-some languages. You have 15 or 20 books that are all over the world, yet in many languages. Earns millions of dollars. That's the same girl that was losing, a junior clerk with a bad attitude. Just one phrase like that, bingo, everything in her life changed. That can happen to you. You could be sitting at home and thinking, well, this isn't going to work for me. God, if the guy only knew the problems I had. Let the problems go. Just forget them for the time being. The woman I'm talking about is Peggy McCall. She's right here. Stand up for a moment. Give her a hand. Okay. And isn't it strange? She and Phil are sitting side by side. You have it, your buddies, yeah. We have a tendency to attract to us people that are much like us. Well, you can name it and claim it. What do you want? You see, we are so restricted in our own mind. We have difficulty letting our mind just soar, go into great places and dream up big ideas. And then think, if I could only do it. Well, you can. You really can. You got to stretch. Stretch yourself mentally. I mean, why not? I've talked to many people that want to become a consultant in our company, and we're looking for people all the time, all over the world. Some of our consultants, you'll hear from one. I know she's here because she came in from Australia. Because I had a text from her yesterday. This woman earns an absolute fortune. But she's showing other people how to do the same thing. She's a consultant with us. I talk to people that want to become consultants with us every now and then. One of our salespeople will get them on the phone with me, and they're afraid. They want to do it. They really want to do it, and they're scared. I said, well, that's normal. Whenever you go to do anything you've never done before, you're scared. But I said, what the hell? I said, let's examine this. Let's really analyze it for a moment. And I said, you married? Single? Oh, they're married. Could be male or female. And I said, you have kids? Yeah. I said, do you think there's even an outside chance that the whole works here, you're going to end up living on the street? Well, no. That would never happen, would it? No. Do you think there's any possibility that you'll all starve to death? Well, no. Well, I said, what the hell are you afraid of? You're not going to end up in the street, and you're not going to starve to death. The worst that can happen isn't going to happen. Have you ever asked yourself, what's the best that could happen? How would you live if you were earning $1 million or $2 million a year? How would you live if you took your annual income and turned it into a monthly income? As I say this, I looked over this way, and I see Keith sitting there. This guy decided one day he wanted to buy a boat. He'd been studying this for a short while. He had to come up with $1 million in 90 days. $1 million in 90 days. And of course, he was certain you can do that. You thought of it. If you can think it, you can do it. He's done many things. But he came up with $1 million in 90 days, and he's got the boat. Keith, stand up for a second. Give him a hand. Okay? Okay. Okay. His wife wanted to document all this, so she got together with Peggy, and she wrote a book. Stand up for a minute, Wendy. You know? Now listen, I had the pleasure of writing the foreword for the book. These are ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. And the reason I want them to stand up, because I want you to talk to them. At the break, go and ask them, say, how the hell did you do this? They'll say, I just do exactly what he says. You talk to Phil, that's what he'll tell you. Do exactly what Bob says. Now, keep in mind, like I say, I'm not going to tell you what to eat or when to eat or exactly what I say. That means you take, like I got a person here right now, he's writing out the last chapter in As a Man Thinketh on serenity. It's a beautiful piece of literature. It starts out by saying, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. Yet it's the result of long and patient effort in self-control. Anyway, Bill was asking me, well, and I said, well, you know what you should do, Bill? I said, you got to really get cool. And you got to be as loose as ashes. Branch Rickey, who was with the Brooklyn Dodgers when I was a little guy, he said he didn't care how far a guy could throw a ball, how far he could hit it, how fast he could run, or how accurate he could throw it. If he wasn't as loose as ashes, he didn't want to hire him. If you really want to win, you've got to be relaxed. See, when you're relaxed, spirit energy flows freely to and through you. And that's what you want. You want to be a good channel for spirit to flow freely through you. And you can direct it whatever way you want. I think we're going to have a man here tomorrow, Scott Servine. He's the director of a project that I've filmed for him, 13 Principles of Success by Napoleon Hill. Hill found out there was 30 major causes of failure, 13 for success. He called them 13 principles. Well, we filmed them. And I've just seen the intro. This thing is going to be, I think it'll be probably bigger than The Secret for a different reason. It's got so much knowledge. One of them is you get the right knowledge, but it's got to be intelligently directed. If you've got the knowledge and it's not intelligently directed, it's useless. Well, this will be coming out. He's coming in tomorrow because we're talking to him about what we're doing with this. We're not sure what we're going to do with it. We just know it's going to be big. So when he comes, you want to chat with him. You got to meet him, Phil. He's a good guy. Do you know Scott? Oh, you'll like him. He's just a great guy. He lives up around the Bay Area. When we're on breaks, keep in mind you want to stretch. Talk to other people in the room. Don't just talk to the people that you know. Talk to anybody. Everyone here has one thing in common. You must want to know more of this or you wouldn't be in the room. Really stretch. See how far you can go. Now look at this for a moment. We bring this up a couple of times in a day because it's so important. Yet in absence of clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to performing daily trivia until ultimately we become enslaved by it. Do you know that's how most people live? Why? They're programmed that way as little kids. Robert Heinlein was a science fiction writer back in the 60s, wrote a book, Strangers in a Strange Land. In absence of clearly defined goals, could you write on a piece of paper a clearly defined objective? Say, this is where I'm going. This is exactly what I'm going to do. And it's already happening here. It's only a period of time till it manifests. Most people can't do that. They cannot do that. I have in my pocket 1, 2, 3. I have 3 goal cards with my goal. You say, why do you carry 3 of them? Well, I put them in different pockets. Now, they're all in one pocket. Every time I touch them, the picture flashes on the screen of my mind. Hello, Jack. Jack Canfield, stand up for a minute. All right? I think they know you. They know you, Jack. Now, Jack is a guy that's very much like me in the respect that I was talking about a few minutes ago. He found what he loved to do, and he dedicated his life to it. So when he wakes up, he doesn't have to wonder what he's going to do. He knows exactly what he's going to do. By the way, I'm pretty impressed with your mailings. I got on a mailing list, and I've been following them. No, they're very good. I like it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're going to shape your future, you've got to be willing and able to change your paradigm. It's not a difficult thing to do. No, it is a difficult thing to do. It's simple, but it's difficult. Because what you're doing is changing habits. That's really what you're changing. Habit is something that you do automatically without any conscious thought. That's what a habit is. A habit is an idea that's fixed in your subjective or your subconscious mind that expresses itself automatically without any conscious thought. I want you to go back and think when you first started to drive a car. Now, when I first got in a car, it was all automatic transmission. You know, reverse, first, second, third, neutral. Man, I had that car jumping like a bunch of beans. It was just all over the place. I had no idea what I was doing. Yet, I think it was my mother was trying to teach me, and she would be yelling at me, and I'd yell at her, and she'd, don't yell at me! And, you know, it was a bad situation. You probably can relate to what I'm saying. And now, you'll be driving through the city. You got your knee up, steering the wheel, the car. You're digging for your phone and trying to jot down a number, and you're carrying on a conversation all the time you're driving in traffic. How did that happen? Programming. You're programmed. Now, isn't it strange? We'll be driving, the program will be driving, we'll be out on a highway and it's raining. And you go and you pass one of those 18-wheelers, and all of a sudden, you go off automatic and you tighten your grip on the wheel because you're going to pass this. And you get out and you make them up half, and the overspray is huge. And you get a little scared, so you back off and you get behind the thing. And you're driving along, then you take another run at it. And you got a grip in that wheel. You are in control. You are not on automatic pilot anymore. Well, do you know what we want to do? We want to start passing more trucks in life. Let's get off automatic pilot. Let's take a look at what the hell we are doing. Let's realize that what we're doing isn't giving us what we want. Let's understand that that programming came from somebody that didn't even know the war was over. It's been passed down from one generation to the next. Many of the people that come up with the beliefs that are controlling your life have been dead for hundreds of years, yet it's just come down from one generation to the next. And you're the end result. It's a sad situation. I think this is why Buckminster Fuller understood this. He said, you never change things by fighting existing reality. You change things by building a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Put that back on there. Where is it? The thing. Yeah, I mentioned Sandy when she came in. What Sandy did in our company was create a new model. She built a new model. It was not easy to execute the new model because we all had to subject ourselves to it. That was a difficult thing to do. We built a new model 2 or 3 times in our company. You know, we built them when we got tired of fighting existing reality. When we started to realize that our paradigms were not giving us what we wanted. See, companies operate by paradigms. Countries operate by paradigms. Another word for paradigm is culture. Culture is nothing but group habit. People are controlled by cultures. We're controlled by programming. Yet he said, you never change things by fighting existing reality. To change something, you have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. Now, I owned the company. I had worked hard at this for many, many years. Everything I earned, everything I did would go into the company. And when we struck the deal that she was going to be a partner, she says, there's only one deal, one way. I want to be the CEO. And you've got to do what I say. And she said, this rarely works. It rarely works. She said, when something like this happens, the present CEO almost always leaves the company because they cannot make the change that's required. As I make the change. But you know something? It wasn't easy. It was extremely difficult. But it's almost like anything you do for a period of time, after a while, becomes easier. Becomes easier. And it becomes easier. And then evidence of the wisdom of the change started to present itself. Our income started to go up. Our business started to expand. Systems were put in that enabled us to grow it bigger, a little faster, better job. What you're going to end up doing here this weekend is building a new model. I've watched Wendy and Keith build a new model. I watched Phil build a new model. The new model is giving him the Oscar, the Emmy, gold medal in swimming. And now he's going to Broadway, and he said, I'll get a Tony. I think that's unusual for somebody from film to go to Broadway, isn't it? Yeah. So I'll be with you on opening night. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to enjoy that. Now, if you talk to Phil, he'll tell you, if I can do it, you can do it. I worked with Jack and with Mark when they come up with the idea of the chicken soup books. Now, Mark came and he said, we're going to sell 50 million of these before the turn of the century. When was it 91, 92? 93. I never knew that until just now. I never figure it out. Anyway, I thought, he's nuts. Now, if you know Mark, he's got a pretty well-oiled imagination. I mean, he's, and so I think the guy's crazy. But what the hell, I'm working with them. We're doing the same thing in the same program. I can't say you're crazy, but I thought he was crazy. How many did you sell? 78 million before the turn of the century? I don't know. Pardon? Closer to 90 million. Closer to 90 million. They were going to sell 50 million. I thought they were out of their mind. They sold 90 million before the turn of the century. Yeah. I've mentioned to both of them from time to time that I tell them, I've often told the story, because here I am in this business, and I'm thinking, they're crazy. They're never going to do that. That is not going to happen. You see, if you sell 1 million, you really accomplish something. in a lifetime. Forget just a very short time. But I couldn't say that. I was in the business. That was one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned, and I've told both of them this on different occasions. It was such a big lesson for me. You see, I really believed that I was at a point where I could just let my mind go. But I obviously am not, or I'd be much further ahead than I am. We've got to understand the results tell the truth. They tell you exactly where you are. They do. You can sugarcoat it, you can cut it any way you want. But I'm going to tell you something. The results always tell the truth. They always tell the truth. Now, this is a great slide. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. You know those quotes that you read from time to time that tell you just how phenomenal you are? They're all true. Do you know when you get talking about the positive aspects of you and what you're capable of, you cannot exaggerate. You cannot. Yep, we just take a look at what's going on around us in the world. Look at a plane taking off. Go back and think of what the Wright brothers did. They had that flimsy little thing, but they got it up and they kept it up for about 14 seconds. They did it. Everything's been improved from that point because we keep expanding our awareness. It's the same with the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the conveniences we have in our home. Understand that everything you see, it was always here in one state or in another. Somebody thought it. And because you can think it, because you got the idea, you could do it. It's not who you are that's holding you back. It's who you think you're not. Self-confidence is the first requisite to great undertakings. I was saying last night, before I did that conference over in Orlando, I can remember the first half-decent sized audience I ever spoke to. I was a basket case. I was so nervous. And somebody asked me yesterday, just before I went on, were you nervous? And I said, not at all. I'm very relaxed. And I had to ask myself, I thought I was relaxed because of the awareness I've developed over the years, all the things I've studied that I understand better. And it's this knowledge that gives you the confidence. Confidence comes from knowledge. People say they don't have any confidence. It's not true. They do have confidence. You're confident you can drive your car. You're confident you can get dressed and put your makeup on or shave. You're confident you can do all these things. See, confidence comes with knowledge. And if you're looking at something you don't have any confidence, understand you can develop confidence. All you have to do is gather some more knowledge about it. It's the first requisite of great undertakings. It's true. Now, when you start to think about the paradigm shift, there's two things you have to know if you're going to create wealth. You've got to know where you are, and you've got to know where you're going. Now, that's so simple and so obvious. You have to ask yourself, why are so many people stuck? Why are they stuck? Now, most people will tell you, and I did for a long time, it's no goal. I think everybody has some kind of a goal. They may not articulate. They may not have it written out. And they may not be very professional. But there's something they want. We could toss that into the category of a goal. See, I don't think that's the problem. I think the problem is not in the goal. I think it's down here. It's where we are. That's the problem, where we are. And when we talk about that, we mean, what do you mean? It's the paradigm. It's the vibration we're in. It's that image in our subjective mind that controls our vibration, controls our behavior, controls everything we do. And if it doesn't change, nothing changes. Nothing changes. When I think of my good friend Joe, who's gone now, God bless him, but I had a deal with classification in maximum security in Canada in Kingston Penitentiary, which is closed now, something like Alcatraz now. Anybody could come to the meeting that wanted to come. They said, well, we can't do that. They said, then I'm not coming. They said, there's some people you wouldn't even want to be in the same room. I said, no, I want to be in the same room. Well, we argued back and forth for a while. Finally, they said, okay, but you're going to be sorry. And I said, I don't think so. So the deal was, anybody who wanted to come and listen to this guy, they could come. Joe had been in solitary confinement for 7 years. That meant he got 1 hour a day out of his cell, where he could walk around in an exercise yard by himself, nobody else. He had lived there for 7 years. The warden said he was a mad dog. He had shot a man in a holdup in Windsor. That's right across the border from Detroit. If he had killed the guy, they would have hung him, because they were hanging people in Canada. Now, the guy didn't die. He was sentenced to 27 years. He had been in solitary confinement for 7.5 when I met him. He was a big guy. And he sat on a table, like a long table. He'd sit up on the table and swing his legs, and sitting on the table. Everybody else was sitting like classroom style. And he was big. I think everybody in there was afraid of this guy. And he'd laugh, and snort away when I'm talking. That's a bunch of crap. And of course, he controlled the room. This went on for about 3 meetings. I do once a month. It's about 165 miles from Toronto to Kingston. It's a long drive. All the way there, I was scared. Yet I knew if I continued like this, I might as well stay home. So I figured out what I was going to do. But I was scared. He started this, and I slowly walked to the back of the room, and I'm standing right in front of him. His head and mine were just about even. And I looked at him, and I said, you've got to be the dumbest bastard in this whole place. And you could see his body tighten up. His skin changed color. I said, I'm going to tell that screw to open the door, and he's going to open the door, and I'm going to go and get in a nice car and leave here. You're going back into a cell, and you're going to stay there for another month. I said, I can show you how to earn it faster than you can steal it. I thought he was going to kill me. I thought, if he had just hit me real hard in the head, he would have killed me. And all of a sudden, the tenseness left, and he started to laugh. I guess he thought this guy is crazy, thinking of me. But the next month I went there, he was sitting in the front of the room. And if anybody shuffled their feet, he'd look at them. Stop. He was like the cop in the seminar. Everybody minded their manners. That guy started to listen. He did get out. While he was in there, his wife had had a baby with somebody else, a little girl. There was a priest, Bobby Gaudette, that had befriended Joe in there. He made arrangements. Joe's wife moved to Toronto. They were in Windsor. He could not go near Windsor. He had to be in Toronto. He had to report to the city police every week, the Mounties every month. They're like the federal police. They got back together. When I went to England to open our office, I wanted to take him with me. I went down. There's something to be said for ignorance. I'm down in the parole office, hammering on the desk. I said, you got no right keeping this guy on parole. Best guy I got. They tore up his parole. It was a 7-year special ticket. Tore it up, gave him his passport, and he came to England. He never got in trouble again. Well, there's a funny side to this story. There's another guy that knew him very well, too. When he passed away, he did pass away a few years ago. We went down, it was about, 60 or 70 miles from Toronto. And you know what the funeral parlors are like, it's all carpet and quiet music playing, and he was laid out. We were so proud. Joe never got in trouble again. And he's laying there in the coffin, with his hands like this. I am with John. He said, son of a bitch, he's got my cufflinks on. So it never really straightened out, but that was the funniest thing. We started laughing. Everybody was looking at us, and everybody else was so quiet. It was a funny situation. Now, what did Joe change? Joe changed his paradigm. And you see, the change in the paradigm made total change, not just in his life, but his entire family. And that's the way it works. Now, this is a black and white deal. Make no mistake about it. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how many hours you put in. If the paradigm does not change, ultimately the results will remain much the same from one year to the next. And if you stop and look at your own life, where are you at now relative to where you were a year ago? For most of you, the answer would be it's much the same. Not for everybody, but for most of you. If it's not, if there's been tremendous improvement, it's because you have learned something, and you not only learned it, you are doing it. Bill didn't get those Oscars and Emmys and millions by accident. He got them because he started to do exactly what we said had to be done to change the paradigm. If you're going to change your business, if you're going to change your social life, if you're going to change anything, you're going to change the paradigm. And if you don't, it ain't going to happen. It's that simple. Now, just before we break, I want you to look at this. Paradigms and cybernetics are both control systems, and they operate essentially on the same principle. They really do. Both maintain a definite course of action and will not deviate from that course that has been established. You must alter the paradigm if you desire to achieve improved results. Both companies and individuals have operating paradigms. If we will quietly, with a very open mind and a lot of honesty, take a look at what we're doing. If you own a company, take a look at your company. Take a look at the people in the company, how they're working. Take a look at the results you're getting. And ask yourself, are we doing the same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing, same thing? Is anything really changing? Well, generally, it's not. The paradigm is much the same. It's the same with kids in school. They keep getting the same grades, and they may be failing grades. Do you know that child can go from where they are to right to the top of the class? See, the genius is within us all. It's not that it's not there, it is there. And we've got to try and understand that. And what did Barker say? That's such a good book, Paradigms. He said to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. It's so basic and it's so simple. Now, I don't know why you came here. If you're watching us on Facebook, ask yourself, what do you really want? What do you really want? I mean, down inside, if you could have anything you want, what do you really want? Let your mind take off. That's what the imagination is for. The imagination goes into universal intelligence, and it wanders around, and it creates pictures and everything. You're a creative being. There's nothing on the planet that's like you. You're unique. You truly are created in God's image. I believe we're here doing God's work. You say, what's God's work? Well, if God's the creator, God's work is creation. You're given creative faculties. Most of us go through school, we never even learn what those creative faculties are. We're going to teach you what they are. We're going to show you how to develop them, how to step out and really make things happen that's different. So don't just wander away from this and say, well, that's kind of interesting. No, it's more than interesting. It's absolutely mind-boggling if you'll study into it, really look at it. Every person in this room has exactly the same potential as you have. I don't care if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. Finish your application. Stay with us for 3 days. You were given a pass for the first couple of hours, or 2.5 hours. What it cost you to go for the 3 days is chicken feed relative to what it'll give you. You can earn millions with it, and there's people here doing that. You're going to hear from some of them. So don't write this off. Definitely don't write it off. Where we're going, we're just laying a foundation. I'm going to show you how to build something absolutely incredible. And this isn't just a theory we've got. These are things we do. Things we do. Things we've done. The results are there. The results tell the truth. You really don't know what you're capable of. But I do know this. You're capable of so much more than you're doing. You know, that's what really winds my stem every morning. I'll be 85 on my next birthday. And you know something? No. All right. You got a smart guy in the company. Find out who did that. Now listen. I've been working at this since 1961. A little more diligently every year, because a little more aware every year. And I can tell you this. I honestly believe if I wrote down where I was and then show you where I am now, you'd say, man, you've really done well, Bob. I've done nothing relative to what I'm capable of. And that's really what gets me jazzed every day. Every day. I think there's so much more that we can do. I sent Jack a telegram. Where the hell did that come from? Yeah. There's a paradigm, you see. A text. It's sort of like a telegram. You know? And I've watched his work for a long time. I don't know, 20, 30 years. I have a lot of respect for what he does. And he's never backed off, and he's never slowed down. He just keeps going and keeps growing. He's done a lot of very impressive things. And we've done a couple of things together, but not for a long, long time. And I said, I think we should do something together. He said, what do you think? And I said, I don't know. But I said, we're both pretty good at what we do. If we put our heads together, God, we could probably come up with something pretty interesting. So one thing led to another, and we thought, well, we'll look at it. We haven't decided yet. I've sort of decided. I don't know where you are. And so we decided we'd do something. We put our heads together and put what we learned together. God, we could come up with something that would be pretty explosive. Would you think so, Keith? You know, we really could. And so that's why Jack came here. And we're going to get together and we're going to brainstorm. What do you think? Do you think that would work? Yeah. I think it will. You know, and I think it could be pretty good. Now, I don't know everybody that works with Jack, but I know some of them. And some of them, there's some like our place. Some have been there for years. How long has Patty been with you? 25. She's the longest, I guess, is she? How long is Lisa? She 20? More like 17. Yeah, these years and years. Like, we've got people like that. Gina's 33 years. That's just because I've lived longer than him. You see, my people are here longer. But no, I think we can do something really wild. And so that's what we're looking at doing. And I think it can be pretty big. Now, I want you then, you see, why did I mention this? I mention it because I think there's something so much bigger that I can be involved in, something that will just help so many more people. I mean, millions more people in places that we've never gone, doing things we've never even dreamed of doing. When you put your head together with somebody else that's really thinking, you can come up with something pretty wild. Well, you may meet somebody here that was here before. And you may say, God, we should maybe look at doing something like that. Because no one knows what we're capable of. I think the purpose of this program is to help you stop and really think, what am I capable of? If I really changed the paradigm, if I got rid of a habitual way of living, And I decided I'm going to pass a lot of trucks from now on. I don't care if it's raining or not. I don't care how difficult it is. I'm going to figure out how to do it. I'm going to get rid of all those easy habit patterns that are keeping me where I am. Start working with somebody else. Start thinking of somebody else. And you're going to find it'll work very well. Now, is Gina around? Oh, there you are. Good. Gina Hayden, give her a hand.
Hi, everyone. Well, he circled the airport for a little while, and I didn't think he was going to come in for a landing, but when I heard those words, we're going on a break in a minute, and then 10 minutes later, I heard, yeah, we're not going on break. We are going on break, so we're going to have a break from 10:30 to 11:15. Got it? We've got a little video that we're going to show you, a little housekeeping video, so please cue it.
Welcome to Paradigm Shift. As we begin this fabulous weekend, please take note of a few simple procedures that will make for a smooth and...
Hi everyone, what an incredible morning at Paradigm Shift. You know, after almost 10 years of working with Bob, I'm still amazed at how incredible he is. He is such a pro, and the information he's delivering is timeless. It is so, so good. I would love for you right now to, in the chat, go ahead and comment on your biggest takeaway from this morning. Now, if you're joining us on Facebook or YouTube, you've gotten a couple hours of a preview of our Paradigm Shift, and Bob has just scratched the surface on what we're going to cover this weekend. I want to really encourage you to choose yourself, choose your dreams, and make a decision to stay with us this entire weekend. Cancel your plans, change your plans, make yourself available to join us and watch the live stream throughout the entire weekend. Or if you have something that you can't move, you get an entire 14-day replay where you can go back and watch the entire thing at your leisure. I'm going to play a quick video on decision, and then we'll be back in 20 minutes. But if you're joining us on Facebook and live stream, your free preview is about to end, so click the link in the description and decide to join us for the entire weekend. All right, we'll see you in 20 minutes.
Hello there and welcome. I'm Bob Proctor. I want to talk to you about forming a habit that'll literally change your world. I formed this habit a long time ago, and I'm going to tell you, my world changed like night and day. Work for me, it'll work for you. But before we get into it, I want you to come back in history with me to September the 12th, 1962.
For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Do you know what John Kennedy did there? Made a decision. That was a decision. It was a big decision, and it changed everything forever. Well, do you know, decision is something most people never really learn, and for good reason. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you something here that you possibly have never looked at before. This book changed everything for me. In this book, it's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. There's 15 chapters. There's one chapter, the entire chapter is dedicated to decision. Now, you may say, well, I make decisions. Do you really? You may make little ones, but you make the real important ones. Do you go after what you want in life? Do you get everything you want in life? See, the truth is, only about 3% of the people are really living the way they want to live, driving the car they want to drive, taking the trips they want to take, living in the houses they want to live in. Most people do not, and they'll tell you why they can't, and they'll give you a string of reasons a mile long. All seem very practical, very reasonable, and the leader of them all is they can't afford it. Well, the truth is, we live in the richest country in the history of the world. Money is the easiest thing in the world to earn once you learn how. Well, if you turn making a decision into a habit, you're going to learn how to do a whole lot of things you may think you can't do. See, what we're doing is we're exploring a side of our personality that we really don't understand. Now, I photographed a page out of here. Napoleon Hill said, those who reach decisions promptly and definitely know what they want, and they generally get it. The leaders in every walk of life decide quickly and firmly. That's the major reason why they're leaders. He said the world is a habit of making room for the man or woman whose words and actions show they know where they're going. And he went on to explain why we have difficulty here, for very good reason. Indecision is a habit, which usually begins in youth. The habit takes on permanency as the youth goes through grade school, high school, and eventually through college without any definite purpose. The major weakness of all educational systems is they neither teach nor encourage the habit of definite decision. Now, why is that? Well, the truth is, most people really don't know. We're dealing with a side of our personality that most people do not understand. What you see here is not me. This is my body. You never hear anyone say, am hand. You see, we've got to take a look at the non-physical side of ourselves. President Lincoln put that very well. He said, to believe in the things you can see and touch is no belief at all. But to believe in the unseen is a triumph and a blessing. Well, let's look at this. Making a decision, we're going into the unseen part of ourselves, using faculties most people don't even know they've got. You see, Einstein said the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. Well, he said the rational mind is a faithful servant. He said we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. What is a servant? Well, there it is there. It's our sensory factors. We can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. What are they for? They're to help us correspond and communicate with our outside world. But you know that the physical world is nothing but the manifestation of the non-physical world. That's right. Here we've got something that's nothing short of a miracle when we look at it properly. This is a little cell phone. It has more power than the computer had that took the first rocket to the moon. Think of that. And I'm carrying it around in my pocket. I can touch a button and bang, like that, send a picture to you, and you'll get it simultaneous with me sending it. How does all that happen? Well, it happens because we're dealing with the non-physical side of ourselves. We're dealing with just pure power. How do we get at that? Well, we've been gifted. We've been gifted with something no other form of animal life has. We have these higher faculties. You've got perception, memory, imagination, will, reason, intuition. I want you to shift your perception for a moment of yourself. You know, our good friend, the late Wayne Dyer, he put it very well. He said, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at will change. Change your perception. Do you know the reason most people don't make decisions? Because they can't see how they're going to get there. So what do? They keep doing things that they can see how they're going to get there. And that's why their life never really changes. Stick with me here for a moment. Think of you. You are a mass of energy and you function on frequencies. That's what you are. Take a look at yourself. Here's a shot taken by Kirlian photography. Semyon Kirlian was a Russian who perfected a form of photography way back in the early 30s that'll photograph mass, where you can photograph the energy leaving the body. There's a glow of energy around you. This physical thing we live in is a mass of energy. Well, we're going to be talking about the non-physical side. You see, a frequency is a level of vibration. Do you know vibration is a natural law of the universe? Everything vibrates, nothing rests. We live in an ocean of motion. Now, there's an infinite number of frequencies. Now get this. Let all these lines represent levels of vibration, okay? Levels of vibration, as we said, are referred to as frequencies. You and I think on frequencies, the highest function we're capable of. Now here's where you really want to pay attention. This, if you get this, if I communicate this effectively, your life can change, because it sure changed mine. We think on a frequency, and the frequency we think on dictates the results we get. So we're sitting here and they say, these are my results, but this is where I really want to go, and we point to a star. Somebody said, what do you really want? I really want to be wealthy. Do you know that most people never live the way they really want to live? They don't. They never earn the amount of money they can. They don't live in the house they really want to live in. They don't take the vacations they really want to take. Why? Because they don't know how. You see, when they set those targets, they look off into a space and they see nothing. Now look here for a moment. These lines represent levels of frequency, or you could say levels of awareness. But when we set the target way up there, it's all gone. We don't know how to get there. Think of that. Think of what Steve Jobs says. You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots are going to connect as you go ahead. Now that's pretty big. If you're going to look at the unseen, you have to use the higher faculties. That's what Einstein talked about, the sacred gift. We can use faculties to look into the future. We can go into the future with our imagination and see ourselves where we want to be a year from now, and then bring that into the present and begin acting like the person we want to become. So let's go back and look at this again. We'll say, that's where I want to go, and I'm going to get there. Now, we do make decisions, but then we say, not going to start yet. I'm going to do that as soon as I get the money. I talked to a young couple. In fact, I wrote about them in a book, Pat and John. I sat with them in a hotel in Toronto, and they said they wanted to buy a house. And I said, well, go on out and buy one. We said, we can't buy a house. We haven't got any money. I said, you don't need any money. They looked at me rather strange. I said, what do you need the money for? You haven't made the decision to buy the house. You see, you don't need the money until after you make the decision. Person say, I want to take a trip, and I'm going to go as soon as I get the money. You don't need the money to make the decision to take the trip. I'm going to start my own business as soon as everything's right. Things are never going to be right. You've got to make a decision. Now, you see, when you make the decision, everything starts to change. Look at this for a moment. You're thinking down here on this frequency, and that's what's giving you the results you're getting. If you want to go where you say you want to go, you've got to get on that frequency. You see, the truth is, you're not thinking about getting there. You're letting the present results repeat, and that's the star you're shooting at. You're going to get the same results over and over and over again as long as you keep your thinking there. You've got to get your thinking up on this higher frequency. Because when you get on that frequency, the thoughts and things that are going to come into your mind will take you there. How do you think we got to the moon? Kennedy didn't know how to get to the moon. When he asked Dr. Wernher von Braun, who's considered the father of the space program, what will it take for us to build a rocket, carry a man to the moon, and bring him back safely to Earth? He said, the will to do it. The will is one of the higher faculties. That's what Einstein was talking about. The will gives you the ability to focus on one thing to the exclusion of everything else. When you focus on that one thing, you're on that higher frequency. How do you do that? Well, first, you got to make a decision to go there. You see, your mind and thoughts must be focused on the same frequency as your goal. How do we do that? We make a committed decision. That's where I'm going. And when you make the committed decision, that's irrevocable. You cannot go back. You shut the past off. You begin thinking on this higher frequency, and you think and act like the person you want to become. Does it sound preposterous? That's what the Wright brothers did, and they introduced us to a new kingdom. That's what Sir Edmund Hillary did. I had the good fortune of working with him. He was a beekeeper from Auckland, New Zealand. He was the first person to ever climb Mount Everest. He didn't know how to get to the top of that mountain until after he got there. He trusted in the image that he held in his mind. You got to trust in the image you hold in your mind. You got to think like the person you want to become. It takes a decision to get up on that higher frequency. And the second you make the decision, everything starts to happen. You got to believe you can do it. The moment your belief matches with any state, The higher frequency is the state. The moment your belief matches with any frequency, you fuse with it, and this union results in the activation, the projection of the plots and plans and conditions and circumstances. Things start to happen. Think about it. You're going to a dance, you need the new dress. You make a decision, you don't know where the money's coming from, but you've got to have the dress. You get the dress. You want that car, you make it as, you get the money, you get the car. The moment your belief matches with any state, you fuse with it. And this union results in everything that happens. Now look at this new state of conscious awareness becomes your home from which you view the world. You're operating on a different frequency. Don't expect a lot of support from the people around you. They don't know what you're doing. They probably think you've gone a little crazy. But listen, in your workshop, and if you're observant, you're going to see your outer reality shaping itself upon the model of your imagination. Do you want to know the beautiful truth? This works like unadulterated magic. It does. This is what all our Proctor Gallagher Institute programs deal with. I want you to control the flow. There's thought energy flowing to and through you. It's flowing freely to and through you. Make certain it improves everything that it connects with. You've got all of this power locked up within you. Utilize it. Go after what you want. Quit going after things you already know how to get. There's no real gain in that. Don't compromise. Go after what you want. It's not that easy, but I'm going to tell you something. It sure is worthwhile. Turn decision-making into a habit. And when you do that, everything changes. See, I didn't go back to school. No formal education. I didn't gain any business experience. I made a decision and bang, away I went. And everything started to fall into place. I opened offices in different countries, in different cities. I earned all kinds of money. I had money coming to me while I was sleeping, and so can you. In fact, you turn this into a decision, you can earn more money when you're sleeping than you'll spend when you're awake. Decision, it'll change your world.